and welcome to the Everyday Board Game Podcast with your hosts, Daniel.
And Daniel.
Daniel, I feel like we should make an intro, like a pre-made intro, eventually. We've been doing this for nearly for a little more than 2 years now.
It's going in. We started in 2020.
Right.
We're going into our third or fourth year, technically.
Yeah, okay. So, yeah, for almost 4 years now, or almost 3 years, fully.
Fully 3 years, yeah. But 4 years.
Fourth year.
Yeah.
You'd think we'd have a button to push by now.
Well, I have to bite. Shh. We'll get on that, all right?
Okay, all right. Well, it's just a thought that came to me right now. Maybe that's something that we should put as a goal for this episode. And let me tell you, that was not a planned segment transition, because our episode today is we are going to be talking about our 2023 gaming goals, kind of like New Year's resolutions.
Yeah, but
for us, yeah, and for games. But before I get into that, how you doing today?
I've been doing pretty good. Just wait for me for 1 minute. I'm just muting some stuff on my phone because
the usual.
My family decides this is like the perfect time to start messaging me. So it's
absolutely.
Like,
well, they see that you're online. They see that you're ready to go. No, like this week has been, you and I played games on Wednesday, and we only played a couple quick games. I had to leave somewhat early. I just wasn't feeling that great.
Yeah, and you were tired. You had to start work again.
I was tired. I had to start work again. But overall, like, I haven't gotten much gaming done this week. It's flew by.
I actually got I didn't get a lot. Not like the other weeks, but I did get 7 games played between last recording and today.
That's true. Well, I'm going to fix that because it's my pick tomorrow, right?
Yeah, so we're going to get like a game in.
Guess how many rules I've been reading?
None.
No. I actually read 4 rule books today.
Really?
Yes. 4 rule books today.
I'm scared.
And see, so here's kind of my mindset for so our viewers understand what we're talking about. We have a weekly game night hosted by Daniel here, kind enough to host it, and we rotate our picks. Which, by the way, great idea. Ever since you implemented it, awesome. We've talked about that before. I highly recommend it.
Yeah.
If you have a group of gamers that have their own collections, yeah, like rotate it. Have them each be one person to pick and teach if they can. So,
except for our friend cheated last week.
Well, he didn't really cheat.
Yeah, the rule is you pick the game and you have to teach.
Right.
He picked the game and we taught him.
Yes. I mean,
I get why he had to.
In all honesty, voices in my head, I thought about doing that for tomorrow and just go, hey, Daniel, you know it. I want to try it. But no, but that's our general goal. And so I was thinking about what games I'm bringing tomorrow, right? And I've been thinking for the past few days. And we have a trip coming up here in a few weeks that we're going to be going over and doing a big haul for a lot of our games.
And it's not really a big one for me.
Well, big-ish, right? Big-ish. It's our yearly cull.
It's our yearly cull. I don't know if I'm going to have that many games. I'm probably going to go with like 5 or 6.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
But we've been doing this, this is going to be the 4th year running?
Probably.
Like 2019, 2020. Yeah, because 2019, that's when we got the snow.
Yes.
2020 was right before all the lockdowns happened. 2021 was our first trip out of state.
Yes. At all.
2022, last year, we did it twice, you and me anyways.
Yeah, that's true. And so, like, kind of my mindset was like, well, we have this trip coming up, this is my pick. Should I pick a bunch of the Shelf of Shame stuff that's, like, on the edge of, like, should I get rid of it? Or do I want to play stuff that I've been really wanting to play? Or I have a couple of demos I've had to sign up for recently, so should I
learn
those and teach stuff? And so I've had a really, like, weird clash in my mind of what games to bring. I think you'll like them, though. Like, I'm...
We'll see. Is it any of the Y games?
No. No, because I figured, and the Y games specifically, anything from Istari.
Istari, yeah.
The reason why I didn't pick any of those is I thought about bringing Scylla. That one looks really cool. But I looked at all of those on my Shelf of Shame. I'm like, I'm probably not going to get rid of them anyway because they always tend to be like a really good hit for me.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm not going to bother learning them because it's almost a guarantee I'm going to bring them back like next month or whatever and keep them from trading them in anyway.
Yeah.
And some of the other ones I'm not going to trade in anyway, but I'm like, I do really want to kind of try this, and you're kind of the only game group that would.
Yeah.
My other game groups aren't as casual. But you'll see. I think you'll be surprised.
Casual or heavy?
Oh, they're not as heavy. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna, we play the heavier stuff.
You guys play the heavier stuff.
So I just noticed I have a couple empty spots on my shelves, and that's not part of the culling. They're in my game bag up in the front because I took them over for game night. Because again, I was trying to see what I wanted to keep. I needed to play some Shuffle Shame stuff. So
yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, exactly. You got to determine that goal.
Yeah,
and the pain is real right now.
Right now, it's only at 4, I think. I'm finally gonna get rid of Munchkin Legends. It hasn't been played in 6 years.
Yeah, that's a good reason.
And
I have some weird ones that are going to be on the list. I'm going to explain more about my idea.
And also, Reavers of Midgard, I finally decided I'm probably going to get rid of it. I like Champions of Midgard. I love the expansions on it. I haven't played Reavers of Midgard since I got the game, and we played it that one time, and no one was really enamored with it.
Right.
We were just all, it's fine. It's
exactly.
just, it's too heavy and convoluted for what it wants to do. Champions of Midgard gives it that nice blending and action. So, yeah, I just don't think I'm going to keep it, but...
Yeah, when was the last time we played Champions, even? Like, it's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while for me. I don't think I've played it in my app lately. It's been a couple years, probably around the same time Reavers.
Yeah.
But I like Champions. I will get that to the table again, but because when we'll get to what I'm going to talk about here soon. Spoilers? Alright, so before we get all that started, and again, this is our 2023 gaming goals, what have you been playing?
Ooh, that's a good question. I haven't been playing much, as I said earlier, but one I did want to bring up real quick. I played a game called Let That Sink In, which I designed. But I actually brought it and did a play test at the shop, and it went over like gangbusters. I was really proud of it. I know get that smirk off your face. I know what you're thinking. This is how few games I played this last week. That's all I'm saying.
You needed a fourth game.
I needed a fourth game, so I figured I'd throw this in. No, like, we played it. I brought it to the shop, and I hadn't tested it with people who aren't, like, part of, like, an actual playtest group or anything of mine, or a thing outside the box. And I just kind of sprung it on. I'm like, do you guys want to try just a quick one-card game that's like a party game? They're like, sure. And I gave them the task of, hey, everyone, research real quick 3 surprising facts. Because that's the intro into it, is you have to get all these facts ready.
Yeah.
And I even learned some interesting facts. And it came out with, like, some hilarious, just ridiculous moments. Like, where one of the facts that was read to me, for example, that the idea of this game is that you read a fact to somebody who's turned away. They're the sink player. And you're trying to judge whether they're going to rate it on a 1 to 5 scale, 5 being just incredibly surprising and 1 being really boring. Kind of like what he's demonstrating now. And after you read the fact, everyone votes on what that person will likely vote on it. And the wider the range, the fewer the points, but it's safer, right? Mm-hmm. And you're all working together to try and score a certain number of points. The way this works is that one of the players read a fact to me, and he said that the average, like, even though the average human has about 8, or not average human, but within humanity, there's about 8 different blood types, give or take.
Okay.
Cows, in the cow lifestyle, there's over 800 different types of blood.
Well, yeah, because there's several different breeds of cows, too.
Right. And then, but I thought that was absolutely fascinating. And so I rated, I was like, that's a 5, hands down. And they were like, whoa, we didn't think you would find it that interesting. Like, you're kind of fact boy, like, you know a bunch of random crap. I'm like, well, I mean, if you break it down, they have 4 stomachs, right? That's like 200 types per stomach. And that was my justification. They were like, that's not how that works. I'm like, I know it's not how it works. But I still can't quantify, like, how fascinating that was to me. And I don't know why that was so fascinating, but it was. And that was just the only way I could verbalize it, with my verbal diarrhea of explanation. And we were just, like, laughing. But then later I went up to the employees of the shop, and they said that when they were looking back at our game room and seeing people, like, turn away from the table, they were like, did they send them into timeout? Like, what was going on over there? Like, why are people looking sad, turned away from the table? It was funny to be watched. It was funny to be a part of. It worked really well. I was proud of it. But yeah, let that sink in. It worked better than I thought.
Still don't like that name.
It's such a dumb name.
Oh, God.
It's what I do best.
All right, let's talk about my first game that I played. This was actually on...
What actual games have you been playing?
Actual games. This was on our game night. You showed it to us before our friend got there because our friend works in a different city. It's about 40 minutes away, so we had to kill some time before he got there.
I was hoping you'd talk about that.
And he showed us Trekking Through History, and my word, is that game good.
I told you.
I really, really enjoyed that game. You beat me by 2 points, and that's just...
Yeah, not by much.
This is my first time playing it, and I scored that quickly.
Yes.
Because I got a 11 run.
Yeah.
My first trip, it happened for me that it just kept going and going. I think I finally closed it out towards the end of the second round.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, that was pretty cool. I like that. And I ended up with, I think it was 82 points, and you ended up with 84 or 85, something like that.
Yeah.
And it's just because you got a couple runs that were 7 and 8 runs.
Yep. 7 and 8 cards, but I was really focusing on the itinerary, which is something I don't tend to focus on that much. Yeah. I tend to just try and break the runs the best I can.
We talked about this, especially him, since you got it. So at least a few times on this podcast. So I don't want to belabor the fact, but it's an excellent game if you are interested in history or just a quick, simple game. I mean, it's 30 minutes, if that.
Yeah.
We played it pretty quickly.
It seemed like 30 minutes. It was actually about 45 to an hour.
Yeah, it wasn't super long.
No.
It's a phenomenal game. It's well done. It's probably my favorite of the trekking series.
Yes.
I've only played trekking through the national parks. I do want to try trekking through World, but I will buy trekking through history, and I'll probably end up keeping it because I'm contemplating getting rid of trekking the national parks.
Sure.
My wife just wasn't enamored with it, or my other group wasn't enamored with it. And
yeah, it's a clean design, right? You know, and I do enjoy it. I'm not going to get rid of my trekkings at all. But
so, my wife made a point on trekking through the national parks. It's one of your things. Something but. And she called it a ticket to ride, but
yes. And that's really a great comparison where, I had never played anything from Charlie Bink before that, and that was his first game. And I was like, okay, I like Ticket to Ride. I like what this did differently. And Trekking the World was slightly different. It's a little bit more. It's like Ticket to Ride Europe versus Ticket to Ride USA. It's the same
it's
idea.
A little bit longer than some Ticket to Ride games.
Yeah.
But so, that was her thing. It's honestly, if I'm going to choose between the two, I'm going to choose Ticket to Ride.
Yeah.
And so for me, though, Trekking Through History is completely different.
Yes.
You're basically creating a timeline. You're trying to get as furthest back in the timeline and build your trek through there because you can never go behind time. You can get an ancestor to kind of help you fill in your track. This way you can get a nice run by visiting your ancestor. Mm-hmm. But again, you're just trying to be as efficient as you're playing, and I don't know a lot of games that are like that.
Yes. What my favorite part about it is just the fact that normally, in order to buy a card, you have to pay something in exchange. No, this is you take the card and you get tokens.
The only thing you really spend is time.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it's you could spend get a one card and still take a second turn, and there's another card that's especially good for you, which is only going to be 2. So in that time, you only spend 3 hours, but you get to take a third straight turn because you're sitting on top of the person who was supposed to go next.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that little hopscotch time mechanism is awesome.
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed it. I like the combo-tastic nature of that because you have these little charts that you have to put points down, and then you can get resources, you can get extra points. I love that. It's I don't want to pull that one. That one's best for my timeline, but if I go to this one instead, I get a lot more resources, which combos a lot more points. So there's a lot of good choices in that one.
Yeah, I'm glad you liked it. I knew you would, and I just knew that there was that level of apprehension because of the trekking
through the national
parks, which I know you weren't the biggest fan of.
I was fine with it. I liked it more than the rest of them.
But I knew you weren't enamored with it. So when I brought it up, you're like, okay, it's just another trekking game. It's not another trekking game.
No, it's just the only thing they have in common is trekking.
Yeah, is the word trekking. That's it. That's really the only thing. It really does it a disservice by calling
through. Those are the only things common.
Yep, exactly. Next game I wanted to talk about is a very quick dice game. It is called Yam Slam, made by Blue Orange. It's a quick little dice game. Basically plays similar to Yahtzee, except instead of a score pad, you're not going to score everything at once. You do roll 3 times, try and get combinations like straights, flushes, whatever. which is different in Yam Slam because all of your evens are red and all of your odd numbers are black. So you could go all evens are all odd and get a flush, which is unlike that. But it has a little case that has 4 poker chips each that tell you how many anywhere from 5 to 50 points.
Mm-hmm.
And when you get the combination, you pull the chip. That's it. And send it to the next player. Play that out until a certain number of the chips are gone. Score up. Easy peasy. It's a great, like, honestly, my only complaint about Yahtzee, which I do like Yahtzee, it does outstay its welcome a little bit, just because you're scoring like 12 different things or whatever.
Yeah.
But Yam Slam works really well. We played it at our New Year's party during a casino theme, and all I did was just throw it on the table. I'm like, all right, guys, you know how to play Yahtzee? Yeah, cool. Let's do it.
Sounds interesting.
Yeah, their only complaint was there's no 5 of a kind. I'm like, that's a Yahtzee. That's not in this game. This isn't Yahtzee. And they're like, well, what if I get 5 of a kind? I'm like, then you can claim the 4 of a kind chip and brag. Like, it's not Yahtzee, so there's that. And they're like, wait a minute.
I'm not a fan of the name, though. I'll tell you that much.
Yam Slam? No, that's a stupid name.
No, that's really bad.
Yeah,
I mean,
the version I found, it's a portable version, so it's only about that big, like the size of a coaster. Okay. It has small little poker chips and all the dice fit in it, and it works. Like you just grab it, put it in your pocket, hand it out.
There's one problem with this one. It won't fit in one of those photo cases.
It absolutely would.
Will it? The coaster size is small enough?
You'd have to take it out of that. But the chips, like
just the chips and
chips and dice.
Yeah, cool,
easy,
nice.
Yeah, in fact I actually thought about doing that because even though the container is pretty good, it's like a little twisty top that has a clear top to it.
Yeah.
I still like the photo containers pretty well.
Yeah.
Like if I'm gonna do a clear container, but this was just so easy. It looks like one of those poker chip racks, So I liked it. If you want a good variation to Yahtzee, this is a pretty decent one.
Cool.
Not the best one on my list today though.
All right, so the next game I'm going to talk about is one we've talked about before. Okay. This is after you left that night, and my buddy wanted to try this one, so we played a quick game of it. It only took us about 45 minutes. He left around 11, so it wasn't too long. And this was The Hunger. This is the deck building race game, a la Clank. It's kind of like Clank, but Richard Garfield, he does something that's so good. It's funny because I kept reiterating to my friend, you need to make sure you try to digest or shed your cards as fast as you can, or it's going to slow you down, because he was picking up all the people that he could, and he kept getting the drunk ones that pushed him back 4 steps, and so he ended up losing because he didn't make it back to where he needed to be for the...
Eating too many drunkards. Yeah. The story of my life.
So it's a great little vampire game where you're basically racing to score as many points before sunrise comes up, and then get back to the castle or graveyard and lose negative points if you're in the graveyard, just to save yourself from the sun. Because once the sun comes up and you're not back, you lose. It's just that flat out, you get turned to dust. And I played it a little bit more efficiently. I still went and got a rose and came all the way back and played it a little bit better. Yeah. And it was well done. I still really like this game, and I really like it over Clank for a racing game, because I like what it's doing, where the cards that you usually buy and get, that's called hunting, they slow you down unless you digest them, but they also give you some pretty cool abilities like drawing cards, or if you have this person and you get this person, hey, you get bonus points and stuff like that. But you have to be very efficient to how you use it. You need to go to the digestion area. You have to use your familiars to help you move faster, or discard this, or get rid of that. And so I really, really do enjoy it. It's a smart design. When we're talking about Ticket to Ride butt or Magic butt, people can say this is a Clank butt. I like this more than Clank because of how efficient you have to be with your cards. There's no run and gun, because you can feed your vampire very well, but if you don't digest your feeding, your cards slow down, you got no movement.
Which, by the way, that gives us a friendly PSA. If you have a Clank butt, be sure to have your doctor. Check it. No. So, 2 questions for you. One thing I want to point out. Still, my favorite thing about that design is that market system. How it slides down and decreases. Yeah. And which I've seen that in plenty of games before, but when it gets to the 1, instead of going to a 0 or like whatever, no, it just keeps adding cards.
Adding cards, yeah.
So you can get all of the cards for 1.
So if you just keep letting something slide and there's 6 cards in there, you can grab all those cards for 1 buy power.
That is the answer that that was the solution that every other game was looking for.
Yeah,
that's elegant.
I think it's
brilliant.
Phenomenal. I want to pick up the expansion. I do want to play it with more people because both times I played it with it's only 2 players.
Yeah.
Very efficient with 2 players. I've tried it on the easy side when we learned it, and I tried it on the normal side with him, and I liked it because it just made things so much more tighter.
So the question I have for you, our mutual friend, Gamehead Geek, when you guys sat down to play it, he was saying that Clank is like one of his favorite deck building games. How did he? What was his response to this?
He liked it. He had one complaint, and it's a valid complaint. It's because it's such a giant stack of cards. A lot of times you can get something that's in your deck that says, "Hey, you need this person for it to score the bonus points or just its points," and that one never shows up. In fact,
that did happen when
it happened with us, and it happened when he played it because he had one character, drew it like one of the first people he drew, and then that one was like 4th or 5th from the bottom.
Oh, okay.
So that's his one complaint. It's just that there's so many cards, and I told him that it might cycle more if there's more players because the way the market works, it's 3 rows for a 2-player game. It's how many players plus 1. So if you're playing a 5-player game, you get a market row 6. You might go through more of the.
That makes sense.
But it plays pretty quickly. It moves pretty fast. I love how it's like the person who gets to go next is the furthest away from the castle. Mm-hmm. So they get to keep going further away. But if time comes up, oh god, no, I got to keep moving faster. It just kind of levels it out. It's a phenomenal game. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, cool. All right, the next game I wanted to talk about is a party game that I have not been able to play for a really long time, but I got a chance to sit down and actually play it, which is the first time in a really, really long time since I bought it. This is called Stay Cool. And now, I played this at... Do you remember Stay Cool?
It's that bomb one, isn't it?
No.
Okay. Which one
is
this one?
So this one, it's kind of like almost a trivia-like game, except one player is being asked the questions. One person is reading the card or reading the questions
it's got the bomb on the cover.
Oh yeah, well it has a bomb, but it's really not bomb themed. You have 2 minutes.
No, it is bomb themed because you got the anxiety because you got to spell stuff out and then you have to do.
Yes, you're spelling things out with dice to answer one person's questions, and while you're trying to listen to the other person ask you audible questions that you're going to be reading out loud or answering, verbally. And that's a lot harder. It's quicker, but it's, there's a lot more to score points there.
Yeah.
At the end of each round, you score however the progress on both sides, and you multiply those together. That's your score. So up to like 25 points per round. It's a goofy, silly game. And when I brought it out, because the gamers asked, they're like, "Hey, so what is this Stay Cool game? What's it about?" So I told them about it. And they looked at me like, okay, all right. And I looked over at another one of our gamers, and I won't name names, but he's a little more apprehensive on like speed games. Like he can get anxiety really badly, and you could tell there was some nervousness to it. He was like, I'll try it. I'm like, okay, well I'll tell you what. I was like, it's us 4 playing. You take the last turn, and then if you decide before that, go ahead and bow out.
Is this the YouTuber guy?
Yes. Okay. I was like, go ahead and bow out if you need to. That's totally
I get which
fine.
one you're... Yeah, no.
I was like, do what you gotta do. I don't want to make you feel uncomfortable.
Exactly. You go there to have fun.
Freaking, perfect scored it. Every time. He was the only person we had to put a handicap on.
You know why?
Huh?
I could tell you why. He's got a neurodivergent mind. They're actually really good at that kind of stuff.
He was brilliant. It was... and he made it so hilarious to watch. He was just fun. And it was just a silly all-around game. I really like games like that. And I always tell them, it's like, look, I get that this is not a game for everybody, but this is 100% my kind of game. I love stuff like this.
It's phenomenal. It's a really good game. I stress out like you wouldn't believe. I only played it the one time when we were doing it at Gamma.
Yes. Yeah, it's so good.
It's good.
Yeah, and honestly, our viewers, if that sounds interesting to you, being asked 2 questions at the same time, kind of, and you have to try and, split them up as you're listening and frantically answering questions. If that is fun to you, then this game is one of the best examples of that. If that doesn't sound, if you don't like any part of like speed games or stuff like that, stay a mile away. You're not gonna like this. This will not convince you otherwise.
So the reason why I was saying something like that were because he can pick up both. Some people who have neurodivergent minds, there was a thing going, I think, on TikTok where they were testing that ability with some people, where they were playing two different songs kind of layered onto each other, and the people with neurodivergent minds can actually pick up and separate both songs.
Oh, that's cool.
So I was like, that's neat. And so I was talking to one of my friend who's a therapist, and she's like, no, that's an actual thing. I forget what she told me what it is, but people with neurodivergent minds can. That's one of the things that we learned with them, is that they can hear and listen and do things. That's the same thing with people that has synesthesia. So the mind picks up colors.
Processes of senses.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's fascinating, but I mean, like I said, he was the only one who we had to put a handicap on, because we ended up making him where he had to say when to flip the timer.
Yeah.
And that's the second round, is where like they can look over at the timer as much as they want, but at some point they have to say flip, and then they flip it over. But if it ever runs out mid-round, sorry, you're done.
Yeah.
And that's what happened to him. So that was the only round he didn't get a perfect score, but he still went into that last round with more points than we had scored after the 3 rounds.
That's crazy.
So it wasn't even a contest. He was playing for bragging rights at that point. So it was awesome. Stay Cool is a fantastic game.
So my third game that I'm going to talk about that I played, this was what I played on Saturday, is one you've actually played. You actually recommended, said it's really good. And our other friends
got to be good.
Then our other friends mentioned, like, hey, it's really good. You need to play this one. So my wife got it to me for Christmas. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to take this over here. I'm going to learn it, and I'm going to try it. And this one's Furnace.
Oh, yeah.
And so
Furnace was cool.
It is a really smart, fun, quick engine building game.
Yeah.
There is a lot of good engine building games out there, but they take a while. Wingspan, Arc Nova, Terraforming Mars.
Yeah.
Those can go from 2 to 3 hours.
Yes.
Furnace, even with a teaching game with 4 players, it was like 45 minutes to an hour, because it plays in 4 rounds. You got 2 phases. You got an auction phase, and you got a production phase. The auction phase is the longest one, because you're out putting discs out there trying to buy a card. Whoever doesn't win the auction, they get the resources or the conversion as a compensation, and whoever wins the auction gets the factory into your engine. And then you go into the production phase, and the whole point of this is just you're trying to turn your production phase into coins, because more coins at the end of the game is going to win the game for you. And what I like about this is after the auction phase, the production phase simultaneous. You just boom, 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 and you're ready. Okay, everybody done? Okay, let's start the second round. And it went really well. I had a really nice engine that gave me a lot of coal that did not fire for me, because none of the cards until the last round did a lot of the coal conversion, where I could turn this coal into this steel, and then I could turn this coal into this oil, and then I could turn these into points.
Right.
And so it's like, that's the only gripe I had about it, is because depending on how the cards are shuffled, the things that you need for the engine are at the last round, and then you're not being efficient in your engine. Because the card that I randomly drew in the beginning gave me coal. There was cards in the beginning that gave me coal, and I needed stuff that I need to start converting. I'm like, okay, got all these coal now. I need to get some conversion. I didn't get them until the last round. I did like my capitalist ability, where I could just put either one of the numbers or my same color. I didn't have to follow those rules. This way, I can get stuff that I need to get. I'm like, okay, there's our 3 on here. I know I'm not going to win this, but I'm going to put my 3 over there so I can get compensated. Doesn't bother me any. I just need that still.
Yeah. You know what I really like about that game? Like, everything about
Abraham Lincoln?
Abraham Lincoln on the cover. Good design choice. No, my favorite part about that game with the auctioning system is that, like, you could tell, like, when they were developing it, everyone threw, like, hey, what about all these edge cases? Like, what if somebody bids the same number? How do you break ties? Like, can you put 2 of the same? And then, like, the designers, don't. Like that.
Yeah. Don't allow it.
Okay.
If someone put a 3 there, then you got to beat them with a 4.
Yeah, it's like you can't bid a 3 at that point.
Yeah,
but what if I want to? You can't.
And the thing
another
thing I like about it too is all the capitalists are overpowered, but they're all overpowered, so they're very It's a very tight game.
If everything is overpowered, everything is balanced.
Yeah, so like mine, I can ignore the placing rules. Yeah. One of my buddy had the one that got the extra disc. So he had that one, and the other ones had like their own special abilities. I can't remember exactly what they were doing.
Sure.
I just remembered his because he was always like, wait, why am I, oh, because you have the extra disc.
Right.
And so, I thought it was phenomenal. It's a really good game. It's a really quick. So this is probably one of the games I would use that teach engine building to people.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
I wouldn't want to bust out Terraforming Mars to a new player. I wouldn't want to bust out Ark Nova, even though it's a good game. And Wingspan, those games I don't want to bring out to new players because it's going to scare them away because there's a lot of stuff you have to gronk. This one, very simple, a nice little engine builder. This would probably be my go-to.
Cool. Awesome. The last game I wanted to talk about, speaking of Yahtzee variations, is I'm
surprised you didn't talk about the other one. You refused to talk about the other one, huh?
I don't know what you're talking about.
I didn't put it on my list either.
Neither did I. I don't know what you're talking about. Anyway, this other game that I've been playing.
He played a cat game.
Yes, technically. And it you know what?
We'll talk about it after we finish.
We'll talk about it later. Yeah, but I have reasons that it annoyed me still. But this other game, it's kind of a Yahtzee variation. I saw a YouTube channel play it. There was the Board Game Geek game night. I saw them play it, and I was like, "What is this?" And I was intrigued. But as soon as I saw them play, I'm like, "Oh, I know how this works." All of a sudden, this looks really fun, and it's kind of like Yahtzee. You have 12 dice, 6 pairs of or 6 different colors and pairs of those, and the game is called Dice Cup, by the way. Have I told you about this one yet?
Yes, you have.
Yeah. So the idea, you have 12 dice, you shake them up, you slam down the dice cup, and you get ready to open it. Anybody can score any one of the 6 numbers, so up to 12 points per color. I'm sorry, not numbers, colors. So if I chose like black dice, whatever the pip value that are on the black dice when it's revealed, that's how much it would be worth. You can also score all of the 5s, all of the 4s, all of the 6s.
So you can either score the numbers or the colors.
Yeah. You can score all of the 1s, 2s, and 3s added together if it's like just a universally low roll. You can also score like exact pairs, either the same if they're the same color and number, it's worth 10 points each. Or you could just straight up score Dice Cup, which is all of the dice added together. Okay. Which on average should be about 42 points, because 12 dice. So the way it works is, unlike Yahtzee, you're not beholden to what roll you do. You're not re-rolling anything. Everyone gets the same roll. But you lift the cup up for about 3 seconds. Everyone frantically looks and tries to figure out what they're scoring, and then the dice cup comes down. That's when you declare what you're scoring. After each player plays, then you would mark down their player, lift it up, score the points, and that's it. Our good friend Mario Fanatic, you said separate score sheet. I completely agree. That was just the only one I could print and laminate in time to play it. But yes, I agree. The actual game comes with separate score sheets.
Yeah, I still haven't played it myself, so I wouldn't know.
That was the only time I have played it fully. No, I played it twice, but that was one that I played, and I genuinely enjoyed it. Like, it was a great little change of pace versus, normal Yahtzee. Boring, good old day Yahtzee, but it was fun. We had a good time with it. I mean, like, one of the funniest parts was like when you slam down the cup and like, all right, great, I'm scoring white dice. Like, you already did. Oh no, what were everything else? You immediately go, I'll score blue, 3 points. Oh. That moment was just so great when that happened.
I do have to try this one.
Yeah, it's silly. If you like Yahtzee and you're okay with speed games, it's premium. I'm surprised it hasn't been done yet. Like, that's what broke my brain about it. Is as soon as I saw it, like, everything about this is so obvious it should have been done by now. How is this not a game yet?
True.
Yeah, I like it a lot.
All right, so going into my final game, speaking of a game that has been overdone, this one is a pandemic system game. I played Star Wars: The Clone Wars.
Interesting.
I love the changes that they've done to this one.
I've heard they were good.
Yeah, they're really, really nice. So you have a big bad. You're fighting the big bad. What happens with it, though, what they did different there's not 4 or 5 different ways you can lose. You have one way to lose. The threat level goes high. And excuse me for 1 minute here. But yeah, I'll worry about that in a minute. But what happens is you have one villain. We play the basic one, which is a Saws of Interest. And you have your Jedis. They all have a free action special ability, just like in most pandemics.
Sure.
You still do the seeding of the planet. Basically, you put everything out there in the beginning. You still got to do... There's one invasion card. It's what it's called. And that's what happens when you draw the one from the bottom and you put it on top and you seed it some more with the things.
Oh, okay.
So whenever there's an outbreak, whenever you got to place a 4th droid, it doesn't spread like in the other games. In this one, you put a blockade on it. Whenever you do an outbreak, you raise the threat level. Sometimes the villain cards will raise the threat level, or a villain will have a special ability that will raise the threat level. And so at first, we were all playing it like, oh, this seems really simple, because the whole point of it is that you need to go in there and you have to take care of everything. You have to do 4 missions, because we played the normal, before you can go into the final mission and fight the final boss.
Okay.
You have to gather cards, which you don't discard in this one unless you need to, because the cards are your hit points. If you take hit points, you have to discard cards. Those cards could be used to help you seed missions or attack droids, clean up the planets. There's transports that allow you to move faster. So normally you can only move 1 planet at a time. If you use a transport, it allows you to move twice. You still have 4 actions. It does a lot what Pandemic normally does, but then it changes it, so you don't have to worry. And so it's like, okay, we're playing this. Oh, this seems a little easy. We're getting through these missions. And then all of a sudden, here's an outbreak. Threat level. Oh, we can't put another blockade. Threat level. We won by the skin of our teeth. We got the final mission in, because another one they changed. When you succeed, it's over. Okay. Once you clear the final mission, you win immediately.
Wow.
Well, so if we had done my normal turn all the way through, like in regular Pandemic, we would have lost.
Wow. Wow. It doesn't get that close, does it?
No, it was so good.
I'm sure there's ways to scale difficulty in that. Were you guys playing on a specific scale, or
we were playing the normal, which is
like the equivalent of the equivalent of like 4 epidemics in the base game.
Yeah, in a sense, yeah.
5.
Something like that. I think it's 4 regular, because 6 is this one.
Yes.
And then the 6 is also the what is it called? The Jedi Master. Mm-hmm. So I really, really did enjoy it. It was probably the most fun I had playing. Mind you, I'm a Star Wars fan.
Sure.
So that's going to help things. Yeah. And I'm a fan of the Clone Wars cartoon series. But I love the special powers that ours had. Like, I was playing Yoda, and so I'm like, we all need to go over there, because this mission gives us 4 successes. If the Jedi's, you get a success for every Jedi in there. For all 4 there, then it's 4 successes, and then you basically roll a dice and see what happened.
Interesting.
And so my ability was like, hey, I'm going to move you to this planet. This way, on his turn, he's got 4 chances of successes from my free action. And so, it was really, really good. And then I was telling... And another thing, too, is if the Jedis can actually help each other on another person's turn. Yeah. So if there's 2 Jedi on one planet and they're trying to succeed at a mission, another person can tap one of their cards, because at the start of their turn, they get to ready all their cards. So they can use one of their cards to help that person succeed. And then at the start of their turn, ready all their cards and start doing their turn.
Interesting. That's cool.
I really, really enjoyed it. I mean, I do want to play it at a higher difficulty, but I just wanted to try it basically at its easiest, or not easiest, but like how it recommends. Play it on the normal setting with this villain. I want to try some of the other villains, because this one, you had one thing there where it's like, you got to meet this and you win. The other ones have like different criteria that you have, or you have different chances to win. Like Grievous has like 3 different levels that you can win. You can win here, but it's not as good. You can win here, but he escapes, and so forth. Right. So I like what they did with this system and changed it quite enough to make it slightly different than what you normally play, based on the legacies, based on the Cthulhu. Mm-hmm. Because when you're playing those, you still feel like you're playing Pandemic. This one's like, okay, there's a Pandemic feel to it, but it's completely different what you're doing.
That makes sense. Cool. That sounds. I mean, I'm up for playing that. I do like Star Wars. Out of all of the like sci-fi fantasy like themes, Star Wars it's pretty up there.
Yeah, and the thing about it is with Star Wars, it's more fantasy than it is science fiction. Star Trek is your science fiction show.
Yes.
If you want something that has good hard science fiction, Star Wars is just fun.
Yeah, Star Wars is just fun. Yeah,
it's just
it's
what
just
it
well
is.
written.
Yeah.
It's good. Yeah.
So before we move on, let's talk about the Cat in the Box.
No, we don't need to.
We both played.
That's not something
Cats.
we've played yet,
Yeah.
so it's fine.
No, we have played Isle of Cats, meaning it's now eligible for debates.
Correct.
But I do want to get your feelings on it.
Yeah.
Same. Honestly,
solid meh.
It was a fine game. I understand why some people like it and some people are in our boat. It did nothing different for me.
It was a polyomino game
with drafting.
I'm not the biggest drafting fan, so that had like when
yeah.
And when I came to that realization, I came to it like a few weeks ago when I even told you I was like, yeah, I just realized I'm not a drafting fan. Like, there's something about like picking a hand of cards and passing them along. Like, it's just I don't know. That's kind of boring to me.
You know what my big gripe about the drafting mechanism that everybody's been doing lately, and I understand why they do it because it helps balance it out. Because yes. I hate when they change direction; it just confuses everybody.
Yeah, exactly, and there's not really a big benefit. I mean, yeah, it's supposed to like prevent like hate drafting to one. So what? Like, yeah, like Azul doesn't change directions. Like there's no others. Actually, so there's a game that I'm going to be bringing. Spoilers. I'm bringing one tomorrow. That does have drafting in it. Okay. But the way it works is that you have a hand of cards. Everyone picks the card that they play, pass the hand, right? But then in turn order, you play the cards.
Okay.
And then so that way, after every card, then you get to see what action everyone takes, and then you can decide from the new hand after that what you're gonna do. Like already, that's way better because part of the problem with like drafting, it's like you don't know what you're gonna get, you don't know what people are gonna take from you, you don't know how to pre-plan as soon as you have a hand of like 7 cards. Mm-hmm. Like I drafted all these. Oh wait, they're all the worst right now.
Yeah.
Like so you don't know that. This should fix that.
I did like Cosmic Colonies when that solar drafting where you have 2 cards in your hand, cool. And then the other 2, everybody knows what those 2 are, and they get shipped.
Right, it's else. What gets played gets passed. Yeah. That's really more action selection in my opinion than drafting.
No, I get that,
and that's why I liked it better.
Yeah, I liked what it did there.
Yeah.
So Mario Fanatic says he'd argue Star Trek is just as much space fantasy as Star Wars. It's just disguises a little better. If you want hard science fiction, give the original Jurassic Park a read sometime. I've read the original Jurassic Park. It's really good.
Yeah.
Now, I will argue that Star Trek does have some fantasy elements into it, but the original Star Trek actually predicted the future with telecommunications, the cell phones, and stuff like that.
Sure.
So,
yeah.
Gene Roddenberry's original Star Trek was really, really big about getting the true sciences and stuff like that, what it would look like in the future.
And see, like, the difference between Star Trek and Star Wars for me, because I like Trek better, personally, but Star Wars I like quite a bit. Yeah, I mean, it's just a good, fun, action, well-written movie. Fine. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's what it is. Star Trek, like, they go into philosophical, like, points in, like, their episodes. Some were more silly than others, sure, but, like, some of them were, like, fascinating like concepts. I mean, obviously it was made in the 60s, so like the production was questionable sometimes, but I mean, if it had modern day stuff, like that would be a hit. Like even if they kept the same themes.
The thing about it is that as it further went along, it went away from more of the science fiction aspect of it. Enterprise was really good, but then you had like Voyager and
I'm only familiar with the original.
Yeah,
that's the only thing I've watched.
Next Gen is really good though. I really do like that a lot.
But yeah, I love cats. My biggest argument, and this is why, I have three cat games in my collection right now. One I haven't played yet. So Schrodinger's cat, the Cat in the Box.
Cat in the Box. Okay.
I haven't played that one.
You bringing it tomorrow?
Yes. Yes. 100%.
The more and more I hear about it, because I was like reading people's review.
Yes, it sounds really good. Yeah. And that's not about cats. It's about Schrodinger's cat, which is it's a concept.
Yeah.
But the 2 cat games that are specifically about cats that I have, Here Kitty Kitty, which is about you're a crazy cat lady luring cats onto your lawn. Mm-hmm. That's a hilarious theme. That is
really cat
funny.
ladies.
Yeah, warring cat ladies. You need all the cats. Like, that's the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need to be a cat fan to understand how truly hilarious that is. And Boop. That's the only other cat game I have because I picture the kittens jumping out of the bed, like, being feisty, and then all the other cats...
you want the cats to be in the abstract.
No. If you have cats in a game, there has to be a reason for it. If you put cats in a game because cats... No. And I felt, as much as I like Frank West, the designer of it...
He's a nice guy.
Awesome dude. And the game itself, I don't want to deter people. Like, if you're a cat fan, you're probably going to like the game.
And it's a fine game.
It's just, it didn't justify why was there cats here. Sure, the luring the cats onto the boat with fish. Okay, I can dig that. And then cats lying down in different shapes. Okay, fine, sure. But, like, paying for your cards and drafting with fish, like, that's your current... No. Like, I
and then you always get 20 fish at the beginning of the round.
Yeah, like, so, what are you doing? Are you just
and then you need baskets to help you capture cats. And don't get me wrong, it's fine.
Yeah, I get it. It's just I didn't like it that much.
Honestly, if I'm going to play a polynomial game, I'll play something different. If I'm going to play a drafting game, I'm going to play something different. It just didn't hit me on any of the levels. To me, right. I get why people like it. I would rate it probably a 6, just above average. It was fine.
It was fine. It wasn't... It was a non-offensive cat game that, again, it was a polynomial game, but cats. And
because they stretch out. It's fine. And if you like it, have fun with it. If you want to play it, I will begrudgingly do it again. I had a fine time.
I'd play it again.
Yeah.
I probably liked it better than you. I'll go 6.5.
Yeah.
6.5, maybe. Mario Fanatics, let's see here. I admittedly only watched the original series. OG. That stuff. But it often felt like fancy dress up with tech-soundy terms. Yes. Which I don't mind from a storytelling perspective, but it doesn't seem like it's any more real to me than gaining superpowers from a radioactive bug bite. But I don't watch space opera for realism to begin with. That's a solid point. I don't think any of us did. I watched it because of board games, so that's you had
Star
a better
Trek
reason.
Panic, right?
Star Trek Panic. That was why I watched the original series.
All right, so let's get into our gaming goals.
Gaming goals, and any of our viewers, please, if you join us in, post your gaming goals in the chat. We want to know what your gaming goals are for this next year. Daniel and I, we revisited ours last week or 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago.
And we talked about how we only succeeded about 4 of them. How did you put yours in order?
1 sec. I put them in... There's a couple repeats that you'll see by nature, and then some of them was just like... My number 1 is just a personal goal that I want to get done this year.
Okay.
That's one that I'm going to work the hardest for. That's pretty much how I put it, is like, these are the ones I'm going to work the hardest for.
The ones you want to obtain most is higher up. Okay. Mine was... I put mine in more of a... Like, the upper is more ambitious. It's the bigger goals that I would... that
You mean like the 1s and the 2s?
Yeah, like 1s and 2s. It's like the ones it's less likely I'll probably finish them, but it's the ones that I want to finish.
Honestly,
like,
I don't...
Not so much want, but like it's the bigger gain if I could.
Honestly, I don't really have something more ambitious. I didn't want to go over the top this year.
Right.
I wanted to kind of rein it in because, again, I didn't rein it very in well last year. So...
Neither did I, but
so
I don't learn from my mistakes.
So I want to be more realistic in this one. And a lot of these was something that's important for me that I want to get done. So we'll see what happens with them.
Very cool. All right. So let's begin with our number 8 gaming goal for 2013. Wow,
you're 10 years
We've been doing this podcast for so long, let me tell you. 2023.
I wasn't even board gaming in 2013, starting with you.
All right. So... Mine is a very weird one. I actually came up with this not too long ago and replaced one that I had from last week.
Okay.
I want to play a new game in a new location. Like, I want to play something that I had never... Admittedly, I would like to play something I'd never heard of before in a place I've never been before. That sounds very specific, but, like, I love travel. I love going to different places. Mm-hmm. And you'll see some more things that have to do with that later on. But I want to go to a place that I'd never seen before, experience something new, and then try a game that I had potentially never heard of before.
Okay.
And even if I like it or not, I still want to be able to do that, and get that experience of like that, kind of like a brand new, refreshing, like new to me, kind of like maybe that'll
Maybe
give me some tingles of like back
somewhere, let's say like middle of Kansas, and find a gaming store and go play a
Sure.
new game.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That'd be great. Like, just show up at a game store one day. It's like, hey, I've never heard of this one, and give it a try. Because there's so much hype. There's so many people talking about like what's new, what's hot, games that we've been following for a long time. I want to see stuff that I had never heard of. Like maybe a smaller game, maybe a simple one, but a smaller publisher, whatever. But I want to experience that new, like, oh, the discovery of like, what is this? This is cool.
Yeah, I get you.
It's been a long time since I've done that, and I really definitely want to do that.
And before we get going, Mario was saying for you that he sort of already knows one of his. He wants to get a few games of Millennium Blades in.
Yes, and I will be happy to help you with that.
All right, moving on to my 8th one, and this one is one that I said that it's a rehash. There's 2 rehashes in a sense on my list, and this one's just to finish The Office. I want to get that done. I didn't put any effort into it last year. Mind you, I had a lot going on last year too, so I want to put some soundproofing up. I want to put some more art in the background there. I want to get an extra shelf, just put my smaller games over there, and so I just want to get that done. Yeah. So that was my number 8, and I don't want to go too much into it.
Sounds great. Number 7, off to me again. This is how this always works. My number 7 is I want to, and not just a little bit, I want to really go out of my way to support as many different local game stores as I can this year. I want to, every city, every new place I want to go to, I want to visit at least one friendly local game store. I want to buy something from them. I want to show my support because...
We're not doing that in Tucson, though, right? We don't have the time for it.
No, well, that's true. But I'm planning sometime this summer that me and my family are going to go on a pretty epic trip.
Yeah.
Now, granted, they probably won't let me go to most of them because that's eating up their time. But I want to make it a point where I'm going to places I had never been to before, doing my best to support all of the little shops around. Like, if you sell a game, it's like, oh, cool, a quick $10 game, let me get it, send you my business, or even buy some snacks from your shelves, whatever.
Yeah.
And keep you guys afloat, because you guys are making the hobby good.
Yeah.
I want to keep supporting you. That's my number 7.
And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that we couldn't go, but it's just that when we do these calling trips, which is about a 4-hour drive away from us, we start in the morning, we hit 3 different stores to trade in our stuff.
Yes.
Take in the lunch, and then we have to drive back, which is a 4-hour drive. So we're spending 8 hours just driving.
Yes. Yeah, yeah, exactly.
No, we do sometimes go to the mall, though, and games
there's
and
a store there.
Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely.
All right,
we do our best.
So my next one here is, again, it's kind of an iteration to what I normally do, but I always set myself a personal challenge because I keep my statistics on my board games, on BG Stats. This one, personally, for me, is I want to play 200 total games. It doesn't have to be new. It could be old. I just need to play at least 200 different games in the year. The reason why
specifically different games,
right?
Like
So,
you're not going to count it if you play Nyram 50 times.
Yeah, that won't count. It'll count one time. 49 other times it's just there.
Yep.
It's 200 different games. And the reason why I'm doing this is I noticed last year on my statistics, I hit 195 different games. I want to see if I can jump it up there, just find more games, and see if I can do 200 this year.
Very cool. All right. Number 6.
Go ahead.
My number 6 is I'm going to try and get another one of my games signed. And that's, so far, I have a decent couple outlooks, but, it's always an ambition of mine. I feel like last year my designs were just really, really solid.
Yeah.
The one specific game that I made last year was The Core. I feel like that's a very solid game of mine, and I feel like there could be a market for it. And there's others, of course, on top of it. One game that got returned to me, so I that will be going back in the market. So to get another one of those signed by a potential publisher would be fantastic.
And the thing we have to reiterate here, the reason it got returned to him is that there was some other issues that they're like, look, we can't, in good conscience, keep this while we're dealing with this over here, so we're returning it to you.
Yeah, exactly. There's no ill will whatsoever.
Yeah, it wasn't like when one of your other games got signed.
There was one that got sat on and then returned after a few years of just...
Nothing.
Nothing.
Like, what 4 or 5 different theme changes, and that's about it?
Yep.
One of which was cat.
Yes, one of which was cats. Because cats. But yeah, I'm glad I have that one back.
All right, so going into my next one, it's again another goal that I've already preset to myself. We've been talking about it when we come to like our choices and our picks during the week. For me personally, I want to play a mix of games. And what I mean here is I want to play new and old games. Yeah, it's nice to get stuff off my shelf of shame, but that's a detriment for all this stuff over here. They don't get played as much. So for me personally, I'm setting a goal for myself is that I want to play shelf of shame games, but I also want to play some of the stuff that's already in my library. One, also to help me make a decision if it needs to stay or go. And so...
Should it stay or should it go?
Yeah, pretty much like that. And you're going to get us demonetized. But yeah, no, this one of the things I needed to do.
We're not monetized. What are you kidding? Who are you kidding here?
That is true. But I want to play a mixture of the new games, the Shelf of Shame stuff, get them off the Shelf of Shame, and get some, like Everdell. I would like to get to the table again. I would like to play another set of Return to Dark Tower. I really, really enjoy that game. Lost Ruins of Arnex. I love that game. I want to play it some more.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. So that is one of my personal goals is I want to do a nice mix of games.
All right. Here we go. On to our number 5.
Mm-hmm. Hey, I get to start. And look, I already checked it by accident. So going to what you were saying, where you go to a new area and you want to play a board game there, it's kind of like that. I'm going on a very big trip this year. Celebrate my 10-year anniversary with my wife. And we're going with some friends who are also celebrating their 10 years. We're taking a cruise down to the Bahamas. I want to play a game. Even if we're just docked in the port in the Bahamas, I want to play one game to say I played a game in another country. That is my goals. I want to.
You need to find a Bahama-themed game.
I would love to. Well, honestly, I was just probably going to pick something like... Because we're going to do excursions and stuff like that. People are going to be tired. So I was like figuring I'll take a little card game. I'll take a Little Devils. We really enjoy that game. Yeah. So at a dinner table while we're waiting for our food, we'll play a game of Little Devils while we're parked in the Bahamas. Or
play a game in another country.
Take what is it? That little roll and write...
Rolling USA.
Well, yeah, I could take that one.
Silver and Gold.
Silver and Gold is another good one. I was thinking, it's the one by not Pandasaurus, the Game Right. It's where you're rolling...
Quicks.
Yeah, that one.
Yes.
Take that one. Like if we're like eating something in the Bahamas and just need to sit like at a cafe and drink some coffee, play a real quick game of Quicks. I want to play a game in another country, and I have a chance to do it this year.
I'm telling you, I will help you find a Bahama-themed game. Because I bought specifically a luau-themed card game to play in Hawaii. And it never happened. You don't know how disappointed I am. But, in my defense, I bought a game from a Hawaiian designer.
Yeah,
so
there's that.
I made good on that. So
honestly, I would be okay if I got a pack of cards that were made specifically for the Bahamas, and we played a game of goldfish or go fish. So honestly,
don't besmirch the good name of the Bahamas.
It'd be fitting in the Bahamas. But I do want to play a game in a different country, and it's a good chance for me to do it this year.
Okay.
I will take what I can get.
And Mario Fanatics says, and I agree, congratulations, you're both 10 years.
10 years,
yeah. Yeah. All right. My number 5 is I want to, speaking of like how you were saying 200 games, I want to play 100 games that specifically I have played before. So anti-Shelf of Shame games. I figured that if I have so many games in my collection, I need to justify them being there. It's not so much that I can
like
play
what
a
I'm
game.
doing with my...
Yeah, it's not so much that I can play a game and it's like, oh, that was a really fun time that one time I played it. Onto the shelf forever, into eternity to gain dust and dilapidate. No. I need to justify the games that I have, and I've been spending too much time last year focusing on my Shelf of Shame that's something that needs to happen. Yeah. So... that's my goal, is I want to replay 100 of my old games.
I don't blame you on that.
Okay, in fact, you even set me up on that, like on the app to keep track of it, so we'll see how soon I get it. I already have a couple on the list, so good on me. All right, number 4.
Oh, starting with me again. That's awesome. Right. So this one's just kind of a weird one because I've already bought a game this year. And so this for me is to try to buy less games this year and play more. Now, I'm just limited to like new games because I also bought an expansion for like Unmatched. If I like the game already, I'm going to buy expansions. But the game I bought was Space Station Phoenix, and because it was on the deal of the day. But I want to have less coming in and play more games so I can decide what stays in, what goes out, like we were saying. Mm-hmm. I don't want to keep adding to the shelf of shame where I feel obligated I need to get these games played. This way I can determine if they're going to stay or go. Yeah. So that's my goal. I bought quite a bit last year. I don't remember. I'll have to look at my stats. But, excuse me. I want to buy less, play more, and specifically I want to play, again, the mix of old and new. Yeah. Because I need to determine what is staying, what's going to go, what's going to happen to these games. Do I need to give them to someone else who might enjoy them more? Sure. Or are they going to stay here and I don't want them collecting dust? Right. There's one game on my shelf that I have not played in a long time. It's the Dead of Winter right there. I haven't played my personal copy on it. And you could just see the dust layer sitting on it. And it's been sitting there a while. And that drives me insane when I'm trying to dust these and stuff like that. So it's important for me to curtail my spending. Now, it's not to say I'm not going to kickstart something and wait for it to come next year. Right.
If you're gonna buy something, it better be $400, and it better justify.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I troll Game Nerds still the day, so I always look at all this stuff. So my goal this year is buy more expansions for games I know I like. Yeah. Buy less games that I'm taking a risk on, like Space Station Phoenix. Now, I love engine building games, and this one looks right up my alley. Right. But honestly, did I need it? I bought it on a Spurge because it was like $40, and it's normally like a $60, $70 game, so... Right. We'll see.
We'll see. All right.
And then we have our friend Dom come up with these games. It's like, damn it, Dom.
Right, exactly. What? Stop showing us these good games. The good thing is, I feel like I love it when they show us games like Gamehead Geek and Dom and yourself show me these new games, because then I can take a more realistic look at them and go, do I need this in my collection? It's not that often that you guys show me a game where I'm like, I have to buy it now. Yeah. It does happen, but it's not as common versus me just, fear of missing out.
There is a couple that he showed us last year that I needed, that I wanted. Yes. Planet Unknown.
Yeah, Planet Unknown was fantastic.
And then Red Cathedral. Those were like the two main ones. And that was my damn it Dom buy when I bought those two games.
There was a few of mine, but I know I bought them pretty soon right after, so I don't remember what they were.
There are a few. Yeah. It's someplace that's good because I have another gaming group. I know this would go good with that gaming group, and that's fine with that.
Exactly. Cool. The next, number 4 for me, right? Mm-hmm. So, number 4 came up with, I talked a little bit about it earlier. I entered into a contest. The Game Crafter is print on demand board game company, and I've been a customer of theirs for many years. I mean, yeah, it's expensive, but whatever, right? But they had a contest recently where they said that they would make have a 1-card challenge where you design a full game with 1 card. And it had to contain the rules. It had to have all of the play space in there. Yeah, you could use tokens from outside the game, but be realistic about it. They're like, don't expect people to bring in like all of these things. They're like, if your game is catered to an RPG player, yeah, you can use polyhedral dice because they'll probably have that. Yeah. The average gamer probably will have a D6 lying around somewhere or a couple pawns, whatever. You can use coins, pocket change, whatever.
It reminds me of that one game. Coinage.
Yeah, Coinage. Yeah, exactly. That was really kind of one of the first ones that did it. Yeah. But now on the Game Crafter, the way it works is that when you have to have anything printed, it prints in sheets. Yeah. And so a full sheet of playing cards is 18 cards, and so you can have you can make a game out of 18 cards versus 1 card, and it's still going to cost you the same. So when I end up buying my copies just so I can have a copy to play and test. I bought 18 copies of each game so I can give out and whatnot. Yeah. So I was like, okay, that's cool. But then I thought about it on the flip end, and I always like the little constrained challenges of designing games like this. I want to make a pack of 18 cards, each one of them a unique game. And that's my goal before the end of the year, is I want to make 18 games in a single booster sleeve. I can hand to somebody. It's like there's literally 18 games in here.
So you're trying to do dexterity. Like a whole 502.
Yeah, no,
but just on one sheet.
They're not compatible, right? Yeah, exactly. They're not going to be compatible. They're not going to be modular. It's literally going to be like this is the pack of cards for any gamer. It's like you like dexterity games, I have this game. You like economic games, I have this. You like auction games, I have this. You like Euro games, I like this, or I have this. I want to do something to that effect.
Okay.
I know, and some of the games will be better than others. I get that, but this is a unique challenge. I feel. So you're saying they'll all be great? You're right. Thanks, sir. Thank you. No, this will be a unique design challenge for myself, and that would be such a cool little thing. It's like, hey, I'm selling this. It's literally $10, and you get 18 games that I've tested, play tested, gone through, developed, and like, what more could you ask for? Like, put it in your pocket, take it with you. There's a good chance you'll find something you'll like.
Cool.
That's my idea. It's weird. It's very ambitious, but I like it.
You have fun with that. My brain don't work that way.
It's something I do, I know, but I'm looking forward to it. Number 3. All right. My number 3, and this is one of the most ambitious, and out of all of my 8, this is the one that's least likely I'm going to complete.
Oh, I think I know what this one is, because you've talked about it before.
Feel free to
Does it have to do with Board Game Geek?
Yes. I want to play somehow.
I'm surprised it's not your one.
Because, you know,
speaking of
I knocked it down a couple because this is
the only one that I figured was going to be on your list.
Yes, this is one that
because you've been talking to the group about it for 2 months now.
Right. I feel like it's going to be difficult. I feel like it's somewhat possible, but the reason it's not my number 1 is because I do feel it's very unlikely. Mm-hmm. And so this is kind of the one I'm most okay with not succeeding. If I complete 7 out of 8 of these, this is the one that will be that number 8. You know?
Yeah.
This is, I want to play all top 100 games on Board Game Geek.
Yeah, I thought this was going to be your one, honestly.
I've played about 30% of them, I think, at least. Maybe even half of them. I played a significant amount. Mm-hmm. What I'm going to do after this podcast, sometime this week, is I'm going to go on Board Game Geek, copy the full list, put it on my notepad, and remove all of the ones that I have not played before, or that I have played.
Okay.
And then I will have that, and I will be ambitious and try and complete those.
Well, between the 4 of us, I think we have at least more than 50.
We had about 75%.
Yeah.
Between the 4 of us. Now,
I have some of the heavy hitters.
Where can I find some of those games? At local game stores in their demo vault. So I might be able to go support stores by trying these games.
Yeah, see, I have one problem with that. I highly doubt your family are going to play some of those top 100 games because those are some heavy games.
This is true.
So, like, I have one. There's one in the top 100 or the top 10. I don't know if it's been bumped out or not.
Uh-huh.
But Gaia Project. I have the fantasy version of it, Terra Mystica.
Yep.
So.
Right. And I'm probably going to make some, loose calls. And
yeah.
I've played Terra Mystica, so.
Yeah, I honestly don't know the difference. I've heard people just say they're pretty much the same. Just one's fantasy, one's space.
So there's some shenanigans I'm going to pull, honestly. But realistically, I'm probably going to do that. But I want to be able to say that it's like... I love doing those really ambitious projects. Like this last summer, I watched all top 100 movies from AFI.
Yeah, I don't blame
I've listened to the top 100 greatest albums of all time.
And this is why I knew it was going to be on his list. That's why I said because he said he's done all the top 100s, but he hasn't done the top 100 board games.
Right.
This is why I thought it was going to be your number 1. Because like I said, you've been talking about this since you finished the top 100 movies.
Yes. Yeah, it's been in the back of my mind. That's why I was like, I better put this as a gaming goal this year. But again, that's why it's my number 3, is because it's the most likely for me to fail at.
Okay.
That's just
and that's kind of what you did with the top 100 movies too. You took out the ones that you've already watched.
Yes.
And just put the ones that you still needed to watch.
Right. Now the only thing is, board games you can't stream on Netflix.
No.
That's a problem. That's going to be a factor. Whereas I could just take HBO Max and watch half of the movies that I happen to do. Oh, the other half? Oh, I'll just rent them on YouTube or go to the library.
Yeah. Well, you
we
might
don't
be able
have
to,
that for board games.
You might be able to rent some of those at the libraries.
Maybe.
Not the ones
It's unlikely. It's unlikely, but
unlikely.
yeah, it's
Some
possible.
libraries have them. I've been seeing like people are like, "Hey, look at this game." I'm like, "Hey, that's a top 100 game. What the heck?"
Right. Exactly. Yeah. I'll see if El Paso has it. Maybe.
Maybe we'll see. But going into my number 3, and a lot of things I've realized the way I made these gaming bowls goals is to work with each other. And this one again goes with my playing 200 total games or playing more and buying less. I want to play more solo games. And I don't necessarily mean just the games with the solo variants, sort of like all the Atoma system and the Stone Myers, stuff like that. I want to play more of the Onirums. I want to play more of the Sylveon, I think is what it's called. Yeah. I want to try the
Oniverse.
The Oniverse. So those might be games that I buy for myself and add them. But again, that's only 8 or so games.
Yeah.
I want to play those because, sometimes I have downtime and I don't know what to do. So I'll watch YouTube, just random videos, or put a movie on in the background that I'm looking at my phone. Instead of engaging on my phone, let me go do something like playing a solo game. Do a small card solo game. Final Girl. Cool. That's one of my things, is I do want to play more solo games. Because I've been the advocate for this podcast of playing solo games, and yet I haven't played as many as I should have.
Yeah, I played more than you, actually.
Lately, yeah.
Yeah.
I do want to play more of my Marvel Champions. It's a great solo game. I want to start playing through the campaigns as a solo. I want to play more of my Arkham Horror LCG. I love playing that one solo. I want to dig through that campaign, the Dunwich, the Path of Carcosa. I have all those sets. So this is important for me to start doing it again and really get out there and play more games.
Well, I'll be happy to lend you any I have. So I do have the whole Oniverse other than Urbion.
Yeah, I do want to pick those up because I do love Onirum. That's still one of my favorites. Probably my number 2 solo game.
Yeah. Yeah. Very cool. Awesome. Number 2? You're starting.
All right, so this one is the other one that I said that I put on the past before. But I think it's very important that we keep putting this on the list.
Yep.
And this one is, I want to continue to work to be a better ambassador for this hobby. I realized that this was an important one. That's why I put it on here, because when we were Barnes & Nobles was doing that 50% off sale, and there's people there, and they were looking at the board games, and like, I don't know, how is this one? And they were talking to each other. And I'm like, hey, can I help you? I play a lot of these games. I've played a lot of these.
Yeah.
And so
what a strange feeling, because I know I do that regularly.
Yeah.
And my wife always cracks up whenever I do it. But I feel like I'm doing people...
I'm helping people. Yeah. And so they're like, we play a lot of like Ticket to Ride, but we're not sure about this game or this game. And I can't remember what game I recommended, but they were looking at one, and I'm like...
Trekking the national parks.
They were looking at like Endangered. And I'm like, if you like Ticket to Ride, this one's a co-op. So how do you feel about working together as a team? And they're like, oh, no, we're fine with that. And I'm like, okay. And then I explained it because I got it and I already knew I learned how to play it.
Yeah.
And so I explained to them how it works, and they're like, okay, that sounds interesting. So they grabbed that one, and they're like, hey, what do you think about this one? And I'm like, I'm not familiar with this one. I have people who have played it. It was the Dungeon Fighter one from Forbidden Games. And I'm like, this is a flicking game where you're playing as like D&D characters, and you're playing through different like dungeon dwells but you're flicking. It's a dexterity game. They weren't too sure about that, and they're like, it's not up our cup of tea, that kind of stuff. And I'm like, yeah. And they thanked me about it, and I like doing stuff like that. I want to be a better ambassador. If people have questions, if I see someone at Target and they're like, oh, we don't know about this, and I'm like, hey, I can answer questions for you, because I own most of these games on the shelf right here. And so I remember recently somebody was looking at Jaws of the Lion, and I think it was like Target or Barnes & Noble or something like that, and they were like, that, and I'm like, that by far is, if you have played Dungeons and Dragons or familiar with it, it's kind of their own thing, but if you're going to get into this game, this is going to be the one for you, because it teaches you in the first 5 scenarios how to play the game. And they're like, really? And I'm like, yeah. So, because they said they had a friend who had Gloomhaven, and they couldn't really gronk how they were explaining how the game works, because it's card draft or it's card management rather than stuff like that. So I told them, if you grab this one and want to try it, and it was on sale, I think it was like $40 or something like that, so it was only $10 off. But I'm like, this will teach you the game in the first 5 scenarios. It throws rules at you at the beginning, but then it explains those rules to you during the tutorial game. And so they bought it. And so I love doing stuff like that.
Yeah, it's really one of the funnest things about this hobby and being so involved as like I am. Yeah, it's awesome.
I've actually been offered to be a game guru in a sense. My friend who owns their own business, they want to do game nights for their company, and so they asked me like, "Hey, could you, run it for us, teach us the games and play it?" And I'm like, "Yeah, no problem."
Absolutely,
because I want more people into this hobby.
That's right. Yeah. And it's the hobby of fun. Like, you're supposed to spend time together and have fun with each other. Yeah. That's the point.
Yeah, exactly.
What's more fun than that? Nothing. That's how it works. My number 2 is one that directly involves you, but I have not told you about it yet. I want to, and I'm proposing this idea right now, and we'll discuss it later. Oh no, please put away the lightsaber. No. Put the lightsaber over there. No. I want us, we have Top 8 Debate. We have Board Game Breakdown, and we have Chits and Giggles, which is what we're doing now. I want us to create a new segment. I want us to make us an ongoing regular segment. I don't know what that is yet. I have like some ideas floating in my mind, but before the end of the year, I want us to have another segment that we can put in the rotation along with these to add some more flavor, add some more stuff fun that's for the viewers to watch, and something that we like doing.
I have ideas for that too. Where we can actually take the compare and contrast games and just make them their own video instead of only the Chits and Giggles.
Exactly. Because like we've already came up with quite a few segments, but I want one more that's like just as big as the others, and I have some floating ideas. So yeah, that's my number 2 is I want to make a new podcast segment, and that'll be directly for you guys who are listening to us now. Our number ones. Okay, my number 1. This is a very specific one. Do you have any idea what this is?
Does it deal with campaigns?
No.
Then no.
Okay. My number 1 is I want to reduce my collection of games by at least 365 games.
That still puts you at about 1,000.
Yes. and I will likely have games coming in.
Yeah.
But I want to call at least one game a day. And I want to, I won't go into my room every day and go, okay, well, I guess I'll get rid of this one, right? I probably will get pretty close to that. But by the end of the year, I will keep track of all the games I am culling from my collection because I need to justify how I have too many. I agree.
So you had a justification originally when the shop just allowed you to bring games, but now there's specifically... Hey,
I have quite a few games that I have in my collection for either I was starting a collection or starting to collect these, or I really like a certain designer and maybe I just don't like this game from this designer. Or we used to sell them at the shop, and now they don't.
Either they're out of print, or the shop just doesn't carry them anymore.
Right, or exactly. Or I have other ways to demo the games other than, I don't necessarily need to own everything that the shop has, just in order for me to demonstrate it.
Because the big thing about the shop, too, is the games, when you buy them now, they send demo copies if you buy a certain amount. Exactly. So that helps them,
justify.
Yeah.
Right. So... yeah, I had plenty of justifications for needing that many games originally, but right now I do have, and I wheel and deal, I trade, I find deals and thrift and all that stuff. That's just how I am. So it's not like I have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on those games.
It's wheel and dealing. You find these games at Savers or...
Right. I spend just as much as most reasonable gamers probably do, but my ability to amass a larger quantity of games is unparalleled to many, as proven by my playing card collection, which is a lot as well.
Which is funny because your board game collection is getting close to yours.
It's not far. It's not. It's about half as much as my playing card, which is already really ridiculous.
That's ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
you've been collecting playing cards how long?
About 10 years.
And you've been collecting...
probably more than that.
You've been collecting board games how long?
About 8 years. So, yeah, I mean, it's still, right? But at the same time, no. I've decided that's my number. I had talked with you about ideas of, could I do a percentage or a fraction of it?
Yeah.
No, I'm going to do 365 games are leaving my collection before the end of the year, and that is the one that I am most determined to try and get done.
I don't honestly blame you. I mean, some of those games you just keep for... just to have.
Yeah, some are nostalgia, but they don't get played.
Yeah, it's the same reason I was talking about Reavers of Midgard.
Right. I know, like, for example, I wanted to have every Phil Walker game. There's some of those I don't like that much.
Yeah.
Like,
we've done it.
Do I need to find a way to justify to myself. So what I'm going to do when I eventually redo my room is I'm going to take all the games out and pick the few collections. It's like, all right, the Spiel des Jahres, all of those are staying.
Yeah.
My 3M bookshelf, those are staying.
But those aren't even in your game room.
No, those aren't in my game room. But as I'm putting them back, I'm going to be like, okay, what are the collections I need to keep?
Yeah.
Those are the ones I'm keeping. What are my games that I absolutely love and adore? Those I'm putting right here. Mm-hmm. Everything else, that's going to be a hard thought like, to think about. Is, can I justify still having this? Do I have a game that does it better? Like, and for example, I don't like to tend to get rid of games from my shelf of shame unless I've played them.
Yeah,
but
I've done it a few times.
I brought a couple games over the other day, and I was like, these are 2 social deduction games. Ugh. And I know you won't play them anyway, but I even asked. I try. I watched the rules on both of them, and they both have a similar flavor. They both have like 3 different factions.
Which one's going to stay?
But one of them seems a little more chaotic. And I'm like, okay. And I even asked you, I was like, would you play Leaders of Euphoria?
No.
And you said no, even though it's a theme that you would probably like. And I was looking at that compared to Secrets, which is Eric Lang and Bruno Cathala, I think. Bruno Faiduti, one of the 2.
Faiduti, yeah.
And I was like, they both do similar things, but this one seems a little more random. So maybe I don't need this many social deduction. I don't play them that often. So
yeah.
I already have
this. And you need a special group really to play social deduction.
Yeah, and I don't necessarily have that. So I have to make a hard cut to a lot of my games. Like, in order for them to earn a spot back in my room, they have to be something that I'm like, that I have fallen in love with.
And I don't blame you. I agree. I do need to do some work. I actually culled this pretty well because I keep it just to the 2 shelves. There's stuff on the floor, but there are expansions that I need to get into. Like, I have one expansion, and I don't know how I'm going to put it in the base box because the expansion box is about the same thickness as the base box and about half the size. Yeah. So it's a normal game size box. It's almost the size of a Return to Dark Tower. Yeah. And it's just an expansion. Mind you, that's for Twilight Imperium. But going into my number 1, and this one is important for me for a couple of reasons. I got my friends into this series, and they're playing through it now. Me and my wife are playing through it. And I want to get it done because the sequel is finally coming in. It's finally shipping on the west side.
Coming on your list.
I want to finish Gloomhaven. Yep. That is my one.
Your Gloomhaven was my time stories.
My one major goal that I do want to succeed, and I'm going to try my damnedest this year, is to play Gloomhaven and finish the story. I'm loving it. We've had more retirements lately.
What? No, sorry.
I'm having a great time with it, to the point I've played it a lot since I got the game.
Yeah.
I'm looking at my statistics here between this one and Jaws of the Lion. I've played it 57 times. And so that's why I'm like, I want to finish it. I've got 37 games in Gloomhaven by itself.
Yeah.
And so I want to finish this. And we're going through it. We've done a lot. We've opened a lot. We've closed a lot. Mm-hmm. That is my goal this year. I want to finish it because I want to start Frosthaven. And my friends are actually catching up to us because they've been playing it like once or twice a week.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, we need to get going on this. This way when Frosthaven comes in, we can all play it together.
That's cool.
And so my number 1 goal is to finally finish Gloomhaven. As you can see, I'm a huge fan of it. You even went and made me art for it.
Yeah.
To the point where my friend, the Gamehead Geek, made me coasters for it. So that tells you how much I feel about this game.
Yeah.
I want to finish it. I want to do the story. I'm also going to be a little sad about it, too.
Right.
Because this is the one that hooked me.
Yes.
Like, I was big into the hobby to begin with. This is the one that hooked me.
Yeah.
This is the one where it's like, yeah, let's make a podcast. Let's do this. Let's do that. This is my hobby. I play more board games than I do video games nowadays. And video games was my biggest hobby for the longest time.
Yep. That it was.
And it's because games like...
I'm so sorry I brought you into this.
Games like Mass Effect is what hooked me really on video games.
Yeah.
Gloomhaven's done this to me for board games.
Again, I apologize.
No, you need to apologize to my wife because this is what I spend my money on, and she's fine with it because she's like, you're not out doing drugs or going to like strip clubs with friends and stuff like that. You're not going to the bars and spending all your money on alcohol. Right. You're here playing games with your friends. So my biggest thing to her, I always tell her, you know what? I'm a man. We don't grow up. Our toys just get more expensive. We still have to ask permission. Used to be with our mothers. Now we have to ask permission with our wives. Yes. So
the other lady in our lives.
Yeah. So I was like, nothing's changed. It's just my toys got more expensive. And literally, these are toys because you can find them in the toys and games section.
Yeah, that's where they are.
So I have no problem with it, but I do love this hobby, and I love the fact that I'm hooked on it. I really enjoy this time in it, and next year, shockingly enough, will be my 10 years in this hobby. I started in 2014, just right after I got married.
Yep. I apologize. I'm so sorry.
I didn't know I was going to go down the rabbit hole like I did, but I'm not complaining. I really, really enjoy this hobby. I've made some of the best friends I'm ever going to make because of this hobby. Yeah. And so I'm not complaining about it, but I love making these goals because it makes me realize how much I love this hobby.
Good deal. What a happy ending for this podcast today.
Yeah.
What a great happy ending for this post. We hope you guys enjoyed listening to this. Hopefully this has either inspired you to complete your end of the year goals or your 2023 goals, or even just make some of your own. It's good to have these goals, whether you get them or not, just so that way you have something
to build for during the year. Exactly. Mind you, we've said this before. We didn't even do the caveat at the beginning of this year. We do 8 because it hits our brand.
It's our brand.
But in all honesty, these are doable for me, and these are ones that I'm going to strive to try to hit all 3. Right. Even if I have to do like some plumbing thing and put like an old comforter just to help with the soundproofing.
Exactly.
I'll do that. I'll pin a blanket to my wall just to help with the soundproofing if it helps us.
Yes, exactly.
Just so I can meet that goal.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. All right, so we want to thank you so much for tuning in. This has been an episode of Everyday Board Game Podcast. If you want to join us, like our friend Mario Fanatic, if you want to join us on a live episode during one of our tapings, join in on the conversation, join us at twitch.tv/everydayboardgames.
As well as all video re-uploads can be found on YouTube at Everyday Board Games 2020. And if you like what we do, there are 3 things you can do to help us grow on the platform. Subscribe if you're not. Like the video, and comment down below and tell us your thoughts on the subjects. This one being, tell us your gaming goals for 2023. As well as all audio versions can be found on most podcast platforms under Everyday Board Games Podcast. This includes Spotify, Google, Amazon Music, and Podbean.
And if you ever want to reach us directly, you can email us at everydayboardgames2020@gmail.com. Whether that's just simply to say hello, give us ideas for future episodes or topics, or even enter in future potential contests.
And as mentioned before, we have taken a step back on our social medias. You can still get in contact with us if you need to on EBG Podcast, as well as if you see us in the Board Game Revolution group on Facebook, one of the Daniels, we will be happy to interact. With that being said,
we want to thank you so much for tuning in. As always, I've been your host, Daniel.
And I've been your host, Daniel.
And thank you for listening to Everyday Board Games.
And remember, every day is a good day for board gaming.